Alright, some terminology and basic understanding of components. Okay, so these meshes are objects, and we studied them in the last unit. If we click on cube, it makes a new cube, and this cube's makeup is not just the cube itself, but its components make up the cube. So if you hit 5 on the number pad, you get into ortho mode. To get into component mode, we go into edit. We can use tab on the keyboard too. The three components that we are mainly dealing with all the time are vertices, edges, faces. If you go to a vertice or vertex singular and click on a vertex, we can move a vertex just fine in any X, Y, or Z. Again, learn your X, Y, and Z movements, because over here is your X, Y, and Z compass. So if I wanted to move this in X, the arrow's pointing this way, this would be moving it in a positive X. This would be moving it in a negative X. Positive Z, negative Z. So going with the arrow is a positive change. Going against the arrow is a negative change. Okay? That's true to all 3D applications. Generally, we look at negative X being left and right, or X positive being right, this one being left. So if you ever need a compass to look at, always just point the red arrow to the right and you should be good to go. That's where you should start modeling. Alright, so the vertice, you can move it around. Again, I hopped into edit mode. But you cannot rotate in a vertice or a vertex singular, and you cannot scale a vertex. You can take and hold shift and highlight two vertex, and you can scale them and you can rotate them. So a vertex alone can only be moved. It's the raw makeup of the geometry. Okay, without vertex there would be no geometry. Alright. Now the second one is edges. Edges, if you highlight an edge, you can move an edge, you can rotate an edge, and you can scale an edge. But you need two vertices in order to produce an edge. Alright. Faces. We can highlight a face, scale a face, move a face, rotate a face. And a face is made of at least 3 edges, nothing less. 4 would be a quad, and anything outside 4 is an n-gon. Okay. So those are the first 3 that we have to worry about. There is another one, a component per se. This component dictates the direction of component, which means that we have a positive and a negative. So in this case we have a face, and this face is facing this way. We know this because we can see the outside of the face. And if we hit N on the keyboard in the viewport, and we go down to display, shading, and click on backface culling. Backface culling allows us to see the negative of a face. Okay, so in order to see a negative of a face, we can just do this. If we take a face and go to shading, flip direction. Now this box looks like a box, but I can see inside the box because this face is flipped negative. So a direction of a face can only face in one direction, meaning that if we have a 3D print of this object right here, it would not print. It would have a hard time with it because it's not solid. It can't see, it can't understand negative faces. So therefore it doesn't have any volume. Now it would have volume. So we have to be very wary about negative faces. They do come up every once in a while, and I'll show you why. But for right now, just know that you should probably come over here right away and turn on backface culling. And heed my warning when I say this. In a lot of cases, students have modeled out whole beautiful things and then forgot to check this box, and they have a complete hot mess on their hands. So keep in mind that this check exists, and heed my warning for later lessons. Alright, now that we have basic terminology of the components, let's go on to the next video where we look at the selection of components.